Hey everyone, this is your OG, and this is another Godforge video. Today we have some of our first team builds, centered around the Bleed Debuff and the heroes we know so far. We will start with an early Cavern team and work our way through a mid, all the way to an end Cavern team. So stick around all the way through to catch all these details and the stat thresholds needed. Without further ado, let's optimize. All right, so we are here on Raven Pyro's Gaming, ravenpyros.com's website. We're going to use this as the backdrop for what we are calling a bloody good team. And I don't do a very good British accent, so I apologize. But it is in honor of the British roots of Godforge and of many of the Fateless' founders and team. I mean, the team is global, so there's people from all over, but much of the roots are from Great Britain. And so this is sort of a first team and a tribute, a bloody good team. So let's see how we do here. All right, so we're going to start with our early Cavern team. Now, we're also going to use this as an opportunity to show you a new feature that Raven Pyros put into his website, and that is as a member, as a CC and as a member, I can go to my profile, or I can go to any of the hero profiles, and I can click on them as my hero. And so it adds it to this area, and I can share this with others, and I can see all of my heroes. Okay, so we're using this feature so that we can, and I like the heroes from the teams, and we'll use this to show you each hero. So, our early Cavern team, we're calling it Lay a Bloody Trail with Brawlers. It starts with our starter hero, Lady Zoc. She has good HP and attack, or not the best HP, but she has good attack and good speed, 93. That is the average in the game, is 93 speed. So, this is why she's important. She puts Bleed on her basic and on her ultimate, and Bleed deals 1% of the max HP of the enemy each turn and can stack up to 10 times. It doesn't take up the 10 spots for your debuffs or disables. It only takes up 1 and has a little counter in the bottom right that tells you 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 10. In addition, Dirk on the podcast mentioned that they're looking at a sort of oversized bonus for hitting the max number of stacks on something. So this is where we're starting this team, as we chose Lady Zoc as our starter, let's say, and she puts Bleed on her basic. She puts 2 chances to put Bleed, or a chance to put 2 bleeds, 2 stacks of bleeds on her ultimate, and she deals increased damage to enemies under Bleed. All those things look to be really valuable, and we're going to build the team off that. Okay, she also puts speed up 2 on herself, so she increases her speed by 20%. Maybe we use that, or maybe we turn her core off and just let her do her basics and bleed until she builds up enough to get her ultimate. That's also an option as we'll be testing it out. So, what gear would we put on her? Possibly a 2-piece Razor set, maybe a 2-piece Parasite set, or a 2-piece Wolf and Lion set. What are those sets? Well, we can go to our spreadsheet here, and we can look at the Razor set right here. Increases damage to enemies under debuff. So that's one potential gear set we're highlighting for Lady Zoc. We're also looking at the Parasite set, which we only know these 2-piece bonus sets so far, but I'm sure that they stay along the same lines as their 2-piece set. It's just the 4-piece and 6-piece will be just a slightly different type of bonus, but along the same lines. So the Parasite allows you to heal whenever placing a debuff on an enemy. This could be a very powerful gear set with this team. And lastly, Wolf is attack increase, and it can stack up to 15, so that's one way to build up her attack. And Wolf and then Lion. Lion is increased crit damage by 2%, and it can stack up to 15%, 15 stacks as well. So those are some of the first gear sets we think may be beneficial to put on her. We have been seeing a lot of Falcon gear kind of dropping early, but I don't know that her speed needs to be pushed up too much because she is at the average, and the average speed for uncommon and commons is much farther below. That's like closer to like 88 or 86, I'm sorry. So uncommon and commons, their average speed is 86. She's a good 7 above that, so we may not have to add any speed for her, and we may be able to get through the early game as many of the opponents will probably have their base stats. Then we are going to show you a quick video. This was from the embargoed leaks for today, and it's Loki, but it also shows that hoplite, because you have a Spartan and double hoplites. So the Spartan doesn't really survive to stick around in the fight. Loki takes him out, but you see here the bleed put on by that hoplite. Now this hoplite doesn't land it, but there is a bleed down here on Loki, and that is how we figured out that hoplite, even though we don't know his kit, has bleed on his basic ability. Now, as a common, it looks like he'll probably only have a basic ability and an ultimate, maybe. And we've seen him get his ultimate as well in some of the video leaks. But what we're calling out here is his basic, which looks to put 1 bleed stack on the enemy. And we're definitely going to be able to get hoplite early in the cavern. He is a Slayer. He is from the Olympus faction. You see red or strength affinity, Slayer, damage dealer, and an Order alliance. So this hoplite has decent HP for a common, decent attack, 90 speed. So I don't think he's gonna be 3 behind Lady Zoc there. I don't think we need to add a lot of speed to them. His initiative is 94, which is really good, and his accuracy is 42. Now this is the stat we'll probably have to build on him, because you noticed against Loki, 1 landed it, 1 didn't, and Loki's resistance is higher than hoplite's accuracy. So it's by like, I don't know, 15 or 12 or something like that. So it's going to have to, his accuracy is going to be have to raised, I would say to 70 or slightly above, because the average resistance in the game is 64. So he needs to add about 30 accuracy, and he'll probably be able to land his bleed on his basic pretty much every time. As well as his crit hit chance is not going to be impacted by that. So we build him with some crit rate and some 30 accuracy, and then make him tanky. And I don't think we need to do much on the speed, but just build him tanky, and those bleeds will do the work. So Lady Zoc would start. We would do a double hoplite. To begin, maybe. We have seen that many of the first 10, several, I think, of the first 10 levels, you may only have 3 heroes you bring in, not 4. So if that were the case, maybe you'll bring Lady Zoc and 1 hoplite, and then our last character. But if it is 4, you can do double hoplites, and Lady Zoc will be putting 1 bleed on her basic, and each hoplite will be putting 1 bleed from their basics, and every turn you'll have basically 3 new bleeds. If someone doesn't have men to remove those, they'll just stay on. They don't fall off like other debuffs, and this could really wear through almost any wave or boss. So that is what we're looking at. We would put possibly a 2-piece disruptor set on the hoplites for accuracy. I think that might be able to give us 25 accuracy plus maybe the substat. We could get our 30 accuracy there and be pretty good. Then we'd want to put 4-piece parasite set, which gives healing every time you place that debuff. And that would help make them very difficult to kill, and their bleeds would just keep stacking up. Okay, so that is the next member of our early cavern team, where we're laying a bloody trail with brawlers. This is a Slayer, but we also are going to show the last member of that team, and that is Voldkalak. Okay, so Voldkalak is a brawler, also from the Virage faction, strength affinity and chaos alignment, good HP, decent defense, and good res, definitely tanky. But what we see here is that basic Shadow Pounce attacks 1 enemy with a 40%, maybe scrolls up to 50-60% to place 2 stacks of bleed on the target. So if we could get Voldkalak as a rare in the first 25-30 levels, he would be a huge asset to this team, as he places 2 stacks on his basic every time, or at least he has a almost 50-50 chance to do it. His core, though, is also really interesting. He attacks 1 enemy twice. Each has a 25% chance. I'm sure it scrolls up maybe to 35 or 45, maybe even 50%. So you have 2 50-50 chances to lock the core ability on 1 enemy, who maybe the damage dealer for the other team. And that comes with a 5-turn cooldown. I'm sure it scrolls maybe to 3 or 4 turns. That is a very powerful skill to be able to lock the core, because then your enemy can only use their basic or their ultimate, but they are unlikely to have their ultimate. So it's almost like a taunt. They have to use their basic. Last but not least, his ultimate. Attack all enemies with a 50% chance to place Despair on the target, on each target, on everyone, for 2 turns. Despair causes them to skip their next turn, and they cannot receive any positive buffs or effects. If they do, it ticks away at that stack. So this could be super powerful, ensuring that the enemy really doesn't have the chance to attack your team, and turns keep ticking by with bleeds burning off more and more and more. He also gains 20 divinity whenever he places a debuff on an enemy. So that's powerful when he has 2 stacks of bleed on his basic. And a lock core ability that is a debuff as well. So Volkalok is our 4th member of this Lay a Bloody Trail with Brawlers team that we think could be an early game. Now we're going to want to put maybe a 2-piece Brawler set on him to add HP, or a 2-piece Kraken set also adds HP. Also maybe Razor, because that increases damage to enemies under a debuff. We'd want to push up his HP, his attack, but mostly like his res, because the average accuracy is actually, we don't need to push up his res, I'm sorry, because the average accuracy in the game is 39. So it's unlikely with 68 that he's going to face too many waves of enemies that have higher accuracy than him in the early game. All right. Now, also, if you were to, let's say, get lucky, maybe you were to pull in or have a hero drop to you in that early phase that's an Invoker. Well, that could be really cool too, because it would provide healing and some buffs to protect your team so that those bleeds could just keep sitting out there and working. If you were to get, these are the 2 rare Invokers that you could hope to get, and the first one is a Sold, the second one is a Nox and a Moon. They would both help you speed up your team, protect yourself, and get more bleeds as your team goes faster. If you wanted maybe a more defensive-minded team, okay, something where you had more protection in that early game, I would say the 2 best options are probably Shublegal. He has 110 defense, 65 res, pretty good HP. This is an uncommon hero. So I would say either Shublegal or possibly Shield Maiden. Shield Maiden doesn't have as good a stats as Shublegal, but 1500 HP. She's pretty tanky as a defender. And we haven't seen their stats, but those are your 2 sort of defender options if you wanted to add that. Okay, so we think maybe Lady Zoc, Volkalok, and a double Hoplite, or, you know, if you were to get an Invoker, or even if you were to get real lucky and you get Dagonet for defense down, they could replace a Hoplite, but you'd be dealing at least 1 less bleed every turn. This might take us up to level 25, level 30, who knows? Maybe it could even take us higher. We will just have to test it and see. But if we are able to get an Invoker, I think that will be powerful. If we are able to get a defensive down, I do think that'll be powerful. And we start to shift from towards a damage mitigation team, as you'll see coming up here. All right, so next, like I said, we're going to show you the mid-cavern team. There are no hoplites on this team. We do still have a double hero duo, and our starter hero, Lady Zoc, remains in. So with this team, we can lay down 10 bleeds in 2 turns. Plus, we have an Invoker from the heroes we know. So let's do a deeper dive into the mid-cavern team. We're calling it Maximum Bleed. This is where we bring either a Zold or a Nox and a Moon into the team as the speed lead and the fastest member. Now, a Zold has 100 speed. She has good HP, or decent HP, I should say, and she's an Invoker, and we've seen she puts defense up, which is a 20% defensive boost for 2 turns on all allies, as well as boosting turn meter. She also does a debuff strip, which is great for keeping your team going while you are trying to place these bleeds and let them bleed out the enemy waves. When an ally defender is attacked, this is her passive, she heals all allies by 5% of her hero's max HP. So adding a Shublegal or a Shield Maiden activates this passive. I'm not so sure if that's worth it right now. I think having the extra bleed champion hero is better, but that could be something we incorporate as well. So we're starting out with Sold here as one option, and then we'll show you a Noxanamun as the other rare invoker. She does not have, she has good higher HP, 91 speed. Now where Sold has 100 speed and lower initiative, a Noxanamun has higher initiative and a little lower speed, but not that low. So it's kind of that choice, like, do you want to go speed or do you want to go initiative and divinity? You can choose. But a Noxanamun is wisdom or blue affinity, where Sold is cunning or green affinity, okay? So those are your two rare champions. And then I want to also show you who I think would be the best invoker you could get. I don't know that it would be possible in the mid game, but we'll see. But Imhotep, I think, would be the best speed lead invoker you could have in this team. Okay, so those are your two rare options, a Sold and a Noxanamun. But here we see Imhotep from the Aru faction, an epic invoker, and he's a wisdom blue affinity like a Noxanamun, but he has 100 speed just like Isolde. He has higher HP, good attack, good defense, and he has Stalwart. What is Stalwart as a buff? It makes him immune to disables. And he heals all his allies by their max HP, and he places an AoE buff of Stalwart on them for 2 turns. And basically it does a disable cleanse, and then it blocks disables. Each time they try to disable you, put a disable on you, it takes 1 tick away from the stack of Stalwart, or it takes, the duration is reduced by 1. He also puts Radiance, which reduces and reflects a percentage of attack. We learned in the podcast what those percentages were, so we'll be updating the site on those. But that helps to reduce the divinity costs and get everyone to their ultimate quicker. And then he gains divinity when a buff on an ally expires, right? So that's awesome. 2 turns, it drops off. He builds back up a divinity to use his ultimate and have radiance to reflect and protect the team again. So Imhotep is like the absolute best option, but we wanted to give you a few different options when it came to the invoker to begin this team. Okay. So then after that, we are going to go with our Lady Zoc, because she will be the next fastest at 93 speed. And again, we saw she puts bleed in her basic and ultimate, and she does speed up 2 on herself, gives herself a 20% speed boost. We wouldn't change her gear, but like I said, we could be maxing out her crit hit chance if we're getting better gear, and we could be giving her more accuracy, which will help her have strong hits more often. Then, last but not least, we're going to go with a double Volkalok team here. That will give us 2 stacks of bleed from his basic. And so between Lady Zoc with 1 bleed on her basic, and then 2 Volkaloks with 2 stacks of bleeds on their basics, you got 5 stacks of bleeds in 1 turn. Technically, 2 perfect world, 10 stacks of bleeds in 2 turns, maxing out that damage potential and probably being more likely to keep the bleeds on at a max level longer. So we've seen Volkalok here. We talked about him. He's a brawler. He has a 40% chance to place the 2 stacks, but I think we'd scroll up to at least 60% probably. And we'd push up his HP attack. His resistance is still high enough, but as we get mid-game, we're probably going to have to start building out his stats to make sure his kit continues to work against the enemy. All right. So we didn't think that initially I had Drac in this team in the mid game, but I don't think that we're going to be able to get Drac as early as that. So we are saving him for our end game team. All right. This is our wish list team, sort of the end cavern here. We could choose any hero out of the 67. That's how we did it. So let's say, imagine we have the highest level of CC luck, and we pull or acquire Drac before the end game, right? So that is the idea around these bleeds, is that we saw Simon pull Drac as his first Lego and says that he just does some incredible things. He puts bleeds on his team, but then when he strips them off, there's a damage multiplier that allows him to hit extraordinarily hard. So obviously we would want to put him in a team with Lady Zoc or Volkalok perhaps, to put 2 stacks each time. That would be a very powerful, but I just didn't see us having Drac in the early game. So he's in this end cavern team, and we're calling this one Stop Hitting Yourself, so it's a little different, but here it is. We're going to start with Aphrodite. She, of course, will be our fastest with 102 speed and 100 initiative. That's our invoker. She has good HP, good defense, good res, and she is putting out some really great buffs. Speed up 2 gives us a 20% speed increase, 20% initiative increase. Then she's putting those out, and then anyone under those buffs joins her in an ally attack with their basic skill. So if their basic skill puts bleeds, well, then that's going to be pretty cool. So obviously, we would be building this End Cavern team not as a 4-hero team, but as a 5-hero team. So you'll see that in a moment. So Aphrodite has a join hero attack, a join attack, an extra turn. She has initiative up, speed up, and she also, her ultimate places Confuse, which causes the enemy to attack themselves with a little bit of reduced damage, and she can place a stun, which causes them to skip the turn and not be able to attack you. She gains divinity when placing a buff on an ally, so that looks great, as we would have folks getting these buffs really easily. There's no accuracy requirement. And then anyone under this gains anyone under these buffs gains 20% more healing, turn meter, and deals 20% more damage from attacks. So that is going to multiply and really bring the bleed to a very effective level. So here you have our first hero in our end game wish list, Stop Hitting Yourself team, and that's Aphrodite. Next, we will go with Shamash from the Ecker faction. He is a strength affinity and an invoker. Is he an invoker? He is an invoker. I thought he was a defender, but he is an invoker. And he's Order Alliance. He has high defense, good speed, 97, good initiative, or not bad initiative. But what he has, and he brings initiative in all battles by 20% leader bonus, but we would likely be going with either Lady Zox or to speed up maybe Aphrodite's, but we'll see. We'll have to test that out. But we don't see it here, but he has an ally attack or a join attack on his core skill that we saw. So between Aphrodite and him, that's 2 join attacks that could just keep running through the basic of a hero with bleed. Okay, so also he puts a barrier and radiance and attack too. So he does a lot to help protect your team. He gains divinity when an ally joins an attack. So Smash would be our second team member. You have 2 join or ally attack or join attack features there. Then our third member would be Leonidas. Leonidas is from the Olympus faction, Strength Affinity, Brawler archetype, and Order Alliance. Good HP, good attack, expected of a Brawler, and good res. But here's why we would bring him in. He brings a defense down to 40% decreased defense with a 50-50 chance and attacks 1 enemy. So we could use this to, keep or to take out the tankiest member of the other team and allow those bleeds to be more effective and to speed the battle up. There's a pairing with Spartan. I don't think it would work on this. If it worked with Hoplite as well, that could be really powerful. But it does not, so maybe they took it out from this kit. But we would have Leonidas as our third member of the team. Our fourth member would, of course, be Dracula would not be our fourth member of the team. Voldkalok would be our fourth member of the team at 89 speed. And he would put 2 stacks of bleed on his basic, and that would be utilized every time Aphrodite or Shamash did their join attack. He could really stack these bleeds up real fast, and then Drac would strip them off, creating massive multipliers and blowing through waves or bosses by doing 7, 8, 10, maybe more percentages of damage every turn. I think this could really rip through content and help us progress. Okay? Speaking of which, also, there's one last piece. If we were to find a hero with this debuff, Vulnerable 1, 2, and 3 increases damage dealt by debuffs by 20, 40, or 60%. If we have not seen a hero with that debuff, but if we were to find that one, that could be a really valuable hero to add into this team as well. All right, folks. Well, this is our first real team comp attempt. Let me know what you think of a bloody good team in the comments below. And let me know if you have any team ideas of your own. And we will feature your contributions on the channel. This is all for this video. Take care of yourself. And remember, play smarter.